Hi everyone, welcome to the Dee-Brief with Dr. D. Real talk, real strategy, real leadership, one insight at a time. I'm your host, Dr. D, and this is your space for bold conversations, soul-deep reflections, and truth that transforms. Whether you're an executive, an entrepreneur, or an everyday change agent, this podcast is for you, navigating both public success and that private struggle. Each episode, we take a deep dive into emotional wellness, grief recovery, faith, leadership, and the tools you need to rise with clarity and with purpose. This isn't just strategy, it's healing. It's a calling. This is the Dee-Brief with Dr. D. Let's get into it. Hello, everyone. How are you? And welcome to another exciting episode of the Dee-Brief with Dr. D. I am your host, Dr. D, and I am excited to have this really inspirational episode about our journey, our trip, our experience to Ghana, West Africa. And I have with me my three sisters who journeyed with me to West Africa, and I'm going to have them introduce themselves to you. So we can start with Rachel. Rachel, if someone were to ask you, who is Rachel Thomas, what would you say?
Hello, my name is Rachel Thomas, and I am beautiful inside and out. I am the proud principal of PS360Q in Queens. So I am a leader. I am a supporter of children and families. And I just love to be here with my sisters. And I'm who I am. And I love being me.
All right. Amen. Amen. Why don't you pass it to one of your sisters next?
Okay, I'm going to throw it over to Allicha.
Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Allicha Powell. And who am I? When someone asks me, who am I am a proud mother. I am a proud wife. I am a retired teacher slash literacy instructional specialist, which turned into a reading coach. Um, I am a praise worshiper. I'm a strong believer in God. And I'm just me. I'm my authentic self. This is what you get. And I'm going to pass it over to Jen.
Hi, I'm Jennifer White. I am originally from the Bronx, currently living in Virginia. I am the daughter of Mary and Harold. I am a world traveler. I'm a gym rat. And yeah, I just am who I am. I'm just Jen.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being here. And first, I just want to thank the three of you for journeying with me to Africa. I had decided that when I turned 55 this year, I was going to celebrate all year. We celebrated in May, and then I wanted to make sure that we went to Africa. So thank you for saying yes. And thank you for joining my husband and I on that journey. So, talking about saying yes, let's go back to the beginning. So, when you got the call or you saw the flyer and said we were going to journey to West Africa, to Ghana, what made you say yes? What stirred up in your heart that you wanted to take this trip? Allicha, let's start with you.
Well, I had a real strong desire to visit Ghana because my daughter had studied abroad in Ghana at Accra, and she absolutely loved it. She loved her experience. But we were supposed to go prior to the pandemic. So the desire, it's her going and us missing out. And I was just so glad that you brought it up again. So we had the opportunity to actually travel there. I've always wanted to go and to visit the motherland.
Mhm.
Um, so I was just excited for and very grateful for you extending the invitation.
No, yeah, thank you. I've always said I have to get to the motherland. That's something that I knew I must do. Jen, did you always have thoughts of traveling to the motherland? Was this your first trip to Africa?
No, I've been to South Africa and I've been to Egypt,
Oh,
but I've
nice.
always wanted to go to Ghana to experience the slave castles or the dungeons. I didn't know really what to expect, but I just knew I had to feel it. I had to breathe it. I had to like immerse myself in it at some point in my life. And when this opportunity presented itself, it wasn't even a question. And I just said yes.
Well, I'm so glad you said yes, and we have to talk about your other trips to Africa to let us know. Because I think, am I the only one, Alicia and Rachel? Was this your first trip to Africa as well?
So this is
First
my
time. Yeah.
first trip to Africa.
So
Won't be
Jen,
my last.
no, mine either. So Jen, you need to give us some information about your other journeys to Africa. Rachel, what about you? What made you say yes to Ghana? But also, before you got there, what did you expect, and how did your thoughts and your image shift of Ghana when you got there? Because I must admit, mine shifted when I got there. What about you?
Well, I think I looked at too many YouTube videos. I think that the YouTube videos painted a picture that really wasn't reality. I think I purchased too many things or like preventative measures in terms of I thought it was going to be a whole lot of bugs and oh my goodness, you got to get the yellow fever. I don't want to come back home, sick and all. So I think some of that kind of shifted once I got there. But just the desire to be with like-minded individuals first and foremost on the trip, and then being able to learn more about my culture. I think that that was something that was resonated with me. And I think the people just so welcoming. They're beautiful. They were just the energy. I think that left a peace in my spirit, and I just felt open to receive. So it was really a good experience.
It was, and I totally agree with you. I watched too many YouTube videos because I had these other thoughts in my head, but I tell you, the community, the people, from our tour guides, the tour company, all of the guides, every place we went, they were just so welcoming, but also so passionate and knowledgeable about their culture and about their country, and also wanting to explain it to us. And I think that's one of the moments that really marked me. There were so many, and we're going to talk about them, but that was one of the moments that really, shocked me, but left me wanting more. Um, there were so many moments that really were stamped in my soul. One in particular I can't get out of my mind is the Slave River. Just taking that walk down the Slave River and thinking about the journey that our ancestors took before they got to the river, what they went through when they got to the river, and then what they endured. I almost feel a little embarrassed that I don't know more about my own culture. And I learned so much in 8 days. It's just so much to take in and absorb. What were some of the moments that are just stamped in your soul, in a good way, but also in a hard way? Jen, what about you?
So I'll piggyback off of what you said about the Slave River experience. But when the tour guide compared us coming home to a mother whose child is just missing, your child walks out of the door, and would you rather have a body so you know what happened?
Yeah.
Or would you rather not know where your child is? Right? And how he described that the people and the continent, the land is in travail because it's children left. They were taken, and there's no idea like what happened to them. So I just never heard it explained in that way. And it made me feel good about coming back. It made me feel like there's not as much of a divide between our continental African brothers and sisters and us. Like that made me feel welcome. Like we want you to come home. So yeah, that stuck out to me.
Yeah, that was a real good analogy, because the way they explained it, it made it so real. Like you can really feel what happened. And Alicia, for those who don't know what the Slave River is, what was the Slave River?
Well, the Slave River, I think it was the Masano, Manso River. and it was the last bath. It was where the slaves had come to take their last bath. They had to walk a 6 month journey from Central Africa to reach that particular area. And I had said this before when we spoke. I couldn't imagine having to walk 6 months through the jungle, just through very harsh conditions to get to the river to bathe. It was see they said it was like a home a depot, a slave market, a depot where they would take them to the river and let them bathe and then just prepare them for sale. Um, they were merchandise, and that's so hard to just to take in. But it was very, for me, it was very, that was probably out of our whole journey. I think that was one of the most spiritual encounters that I had, just because understanding what water actually means to us, and the cleansing of water, and then the spiritual symbolization behind water, and to know that that was their last bath, to know that they were being handled, and not handled in a good way, handled as merchandise. That was very painful. But I like what you said, Jen, because the return, the welcoming, to be welcomed back home, and the encouragement that the tour guide gave us, letting us know that we were truly welcome back home. And even when we took off our shoes, and our feet connected to the ground, connecting to the earth, then when we stepped in the water, connecting to the water, and the prayers praying for each of us, the prayers were wonderful and amazing. And you could just feel the love and the connection between us, and the connection to the earth, and the connection to our ancestors. So that for me was a beautiful, beautiful moment. That was a beautiful moment. Beautiful moment.
Yeah, I'm glad you phrased it that way because it was such a hard moment
Right.
walking to the Slave River, seeing there was a place in the middle where we stopped before we got to the river, and then getting there and seeing the different signs of what happened. But I love how you both sum that up with us stepping into the river, putting our feet in the river, and the circle we made of prayer, and sowing into each other with the word, and how it came back around. That was truly I was just inspiring. Rachel, I don't know if you think the same thing about the Slave River. I know there were so many other profound stops along the way. What did you think about the Slave River?
Well, yeah, definitely the Slave River. And I, like you, to be honest, that was my first time learning about the Slave River. I really had no idea. I think that we had this conversation about learning about our history from one perspective, but not really knowing. And I think that this journey has opened up our eyes and our desire to learn more about our history, to learn more about our ancestors, to learn more about Mother Africa, right?
Yeah,
And in general, right? So, but the Slave River experience, I think, was one where it was peaceful, but yet it was powerful. And it was
mhm,
powerful because the tour guide at one point said, "Speak to your ancestors."
yeah,
Right? What are you feeling right now? What do you want to say to them? And in that moment, it made it real. Their spirit is there. I am there. That connection of, I would not be where I am. I would not be who I am. We would not be where we are in life without our ancestors and what they experienced. It's humbling. It's a moment of gratefulness, a moment of thankfulness, a moment of just giving back positive energy and just thoughts to what they went through. How humbling, how deeply moving. And I just think that that is something that I wish anyone who visits Ghana should experience.
yeah. Absolutely. I told my kids when I came back that I want them to definitely come on our next trip to Africa, but they have to go to Ghana. Like they really have to experience the Slave River, and just that humbling experience. And for me, the next part that I think met my spirit, in a humbling way, was the slave castles. I'm trying to. I don't think I can determine whether it was Cape Coast L or Amira, I think it was called. That was
Almina.
Elmina. Thank you. That was more impactful. But just, I mean, everything about the slave castles, from the dungeons, the separation of the men and the women, the cells that people went to for punishment, the 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 door of no return, and how narrow that door was. But I don't know who I said this to on the trip. It was almost like organized evil to have that door lead right to the Atlantic Ocean, where you knew you were going to the slave ship and never returning. But just everything that happened in the dungeon. And for those who don't know, my parents grew up in Alabama, so my father was the oldest of 14. Very, very, very poor family. My mother, was different. They had my family farm. But my father, I can't compare his life to a dungeon, but he grew up in some of those same circumstances, waking up to his brother dead next to him and laying next to a dead body for days, not having food, all those things. And just walking through that dungeon reminds me of his story. So that really impacted me emotionally and spiritually, looking at what our ancestors went through, for our ancestors not too far removed to go through similar things, and thinking about what we still go through now as people. How did it impact you, Rachel?
Well, for one thing, the unknown. Did they know they were getting ready to go on a ship? Right. I think about, the chains, the bondage that they went through. And then we had the conversation about the women, right? What we go through as women physically and emotionally. We can't even imagine. We had that experience. We had empathy. We felt the pain, of what that experience must have been. But logically, it's so illogical to think that a human being would expose others to such inhumanity,
Yeah.
right? So my deepest reflection is, how do I make sure that I live my life in honoring our ancestors and what they went through?
Mhm.
And that's that resilience that I have within me since returning home. That experience, I think, even as I'm watching the videos again, and I'm sharing the videos with family, and they're, saying things like, wow, you can smell, you were feeling the darkness, the coldness. It's something that just shook you to your
Yeah.
inner, and those feelings are still with us right now.
Mhm.
Yeah, they are. That's a really good way to put it. And Jen, I know you took a lot of video like me. Did you get the video of scrapings on the wall in the
Yes.
castle and seeing that? What did you think about that?
Just so much to say. I don't even know where to start. The psychology of it, like, for the people that's doing this to our ancestors, that's one part. But like how it's just breaking down the resolve of, I don't I don't even know where to start. The door of no return. They made it so slim that you can only go in sideways,
Right?
right? That's just another small way of psychological manipulation.
Yeah.
Um, the cell where if you try to revolt and you want to fight against these barbarians that were trying to capture you, they put you in a cell. There's like 10 of you in the cell. They don't take you out unless everybody is dead. So imagine being the last person in that cell and everyone around you is dead. And the guard will check in to see, is anyone still alive? If there's someone alive, the guard goes back outside.
Right.
The psychology of that.
Yeah.
Then the only time that they bathe a woman is to prepare her for rape. The psychology of that. the people receiving it and the people perpetuating it. It's like it's something that I can't even wrap my mind around. Then, mind you, you're bound with cannonballs on your hands and on your wrist. I, you
Yeah.
just have to experience it. Like I'm getting chills just, just thinking about it again now.
Yeah.
And that
Yeah.
doesn't even start to like tap into what our ancestors actually went through. Like Rachel said, like we can't even imagine.
Yeah, we can't even imagine. And I'm getting chills here when you talking about it and reliving this conversation because you go on this journey and you go on this trip and you know what to expect, but you don't know what to expect and how it's going to really, really impact you and the psychology of it, like you said. And Alicia, I know you want to talk about this. What about the psychology of what was happening above the dungeon?
That's exactly where I was going. My heart was broken because I of thinking of man's manipulation of the Lord. Because how can you have a church on top of a dungeon where you were had slaves and you were mistreating people and torturing people? And so how can you do that? Our tour guide, Frank, often said he doesn't really refer to it as a castle. He refers to it as a dungeon. Because here you how can you praise God on top of such inhumanity? So they often refer to it as heaven on top of hell, the sky being heaven, the bottom being hell. The slaves, the Africans were enduring hell while they were praising God above them. And they often said, what kind of God is that? How do we serve someone like that? And that hit me hard because we think of God, our God is a loving God. That's not what our God would do. So it was man's evil and the manipulation and the psychology of the harsh manipulation of it all for what? For money, for gain? Awful. So I have a different outlook on they were talking about the Portuguese and the Portuguese priests, and so I was a little, I have to say, upset because it was so heartbreaking. How could you enslave people? It's like, how? Why? What was the purpose? For money? But you're praising God, and underneath you're killing people, literally killing people underneath. We could, the smell was, I couldn't believe, the smell of urine was still very, very strong. um and even in terms of the small windows, the windows were so small where they would let light come through, and everything was done underground. So there was no time for them to unless they were going to be abused, unless they were going to be raped, they were not let out. So that was just very harsh, and to me it was very inhumane. And to imagine that the only time they didn't want the the colonizers to actually see the people underneath. So there was a small window that they would just peek in to check to see what was going on. How inhumane is that? You know what you're doing. How could you? So I was very hurt, very disappointed, very angry because of the disrespect of of who I believe who my God is. How could you disrespect my God by putting in such, as I'm going to say, inhumane, putting such evil um, into something that is so sacred. And it was interesting because they said there was such hospitality. They welcomed the Africans, welcomed them with such hospitality. They were giving them the Bible, asking them to close their eyes. And when they closed their eyes with the Bible, they opened up, they were offering and welcoming them to their land. And they were bringing Christianity to the land. And they were giving them the Bible, as I had just said. So they were giving them the Bible and having them close their eyes for prayer. And then when they opened their eyes, they said they had the Bible, but their land was gone.
Mm.
That's awful.
Yeah.
That's awful. That's just awful. That's just stealing. That's just inhumane. And there were so many things that hurt about the rape hurt. Hearing how they chose the women and how the women, if they weren't willing to be raped, they were put in a little room and chastised until they kind of changed their mind, or being put there as an example. But yet you're still praising God above me? Come on now.
Yeah.
It's just so inhumane and so inhumane.
Yeah.
So
And you would think, the church above you, you would think that that was a place of protection, a
right,
place of peace, a safe space that you can have. But it
exactly.
wasn't used for that. It was used for just the opposite. So there really was, at least in my opinion, in Eat the Slave Castle, unlike the Slave River, and we'll talk about the mimosa plant, whoever wants to talk about that, there was no safe place
No,
in the dungeon. You were there for months at a time, tortured, tormented, all to go to the door of no return. And I think Rachel, you mentioned, did they even know that that was the outcome after leaving the dungeon? Did you think that something else was going to happen? But to your point, Alicia, our God always finds a way to
absolutely.
to protect us or give us a sign. And I will never look at mimosa the same way. Who wants to talk about the mimosa plant?
I don't mind. I
Go ahead.
think, when you think of, I had mentioned this before, when we think of mimosas, where that's something that we're usually celebrating. Something you're waking up, and you're celebrating with mimosas, or you have champagne and orange juice and you think it's wonderful. But that's not what the mimosa plant is for. And the tour guide said, how, you guys, I don't understand how you can celebrate that, because the mimosa plant was a plant of protection. It was interesting because he had us touch the actual plant. And when you touch the plant, the leaves are folded in, and they told you that there was danger.
Yes.
But when the plant was regular and the leaves were open, you knew that it was safe. So our ancestors were actually using the mimosa plant and using the ground to protect them, to keep them safe. And I thought that that was a very interesting concept, and it's so interesting to really understand how Mother Earth can protect you.
That's right.
Mhm.
How Mother Earth can protect us in the motherland too. To learn that
Mhm.
in the motherland, I think was just so
Yeah.
so amazing. And I wanna give it up to our tour company. So
Yes.
Ashanti Tour Company, they put together the itinerary, and they put it together in a way that helped us to celebrate history and learn a lot in the beginning when we first got there, on our tours the first day, seeing the kids walking through and singing. And then it took us on a journey of really learning our history,
Right.
but then we end it with a celebration. And I must say, for me, um, that was the highlight of the trip. I was so looking forward to the naming ceremony. I told this story. When I was born, my father wanted to name me. He had me, with his dashiki on. He told my mother to wait 5 days. He was trying to find me a traditional name. He came back to the hospital and said he wanted to name me Zinzi, Zinzi, which means love of God, or one day at a time. My mother said, "No, I don't like that name. We're gonna just name her Darlene." She was watching All My Children. It was Erica Kane or Darlene. She chose Darlene. Yep, that was how I got my name. She said, "I'll come back later and give her a middle name, but her middle name would be a traditional African name." 55 years later, that never happened. So
Mm,
that naming ceremony and getting my name was just, it was so much to me. Um, it really made me feel like my parents wished was fulfilled.
Wow.
So what did the naming ceremony, just the whole process from them, us walking in, and the drums and the dancing, like we were treated like royalty.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, why did we have to go to Africa for that to happen?
Mm.
What did you think? What's your feeling about the naming ceremony? Whoever wants to jump in.
I'll say that I did feel similarities to my Christian experience. So, with the foot washing, the
Yeah.
taking off of the shoes, entering the palace, the reverence of the chief king, the elders that were there, the women, almost like they're the missionaries, or
Mhm.
or the usher, they're the usher board, right?
Right.
um,
Yes. Yeah.
I felt similarities to that experience. Um, it was something, again, humbling. What I liked about the tour company is with certain situations, they would say, okay, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. Here are the do's or the don'ts. And so even in those moments, our mind was like, okay, we're experiencing it, but we also want to make sure don't do anything with your left hand. Make sure your legs are apart. We wanted to make sure we were honoring and reverencing and respecting their culture, their rules, but just the warm embrace, the smiles, the
Yeah.
hand holding, it was just something that I've never experienced. And I didn't know I was going to experience that. I know that Jennifer said to me, she said, Rachel, you were smiling the whole time. And I was
Wow.
like, I was happy. I was excited. It
Mhm.
was just a feeling of overjoy settling in my spirit for someone to honor me. I don't know
Right.
you. These people don't know me, but yet they said that they did know me and that
Yeah.
they were welcoming and waiting for me to come back home.
Mhm.
That alone, I tell you, is almost like when you have that good meal and you just need to sit in silence after a while.
Mhm.
So yeah, I enjoyed it.
And they said we were family. You're right. They don't know us, but they said they knew us, that we were their
Yes.
family.
Hmm.
Jen, how was it for you?
I don't have too much to add. Like, Rachel pretty much covered it, but I felt very welcome. The aunties there just made me feel like relaxed, and like, yeah, I just felt like it was family.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love the aunties because she was like, "Come on, I'm going to take you to the washroom." Took us to her house,
Yeah.
down through the path without a problem. It was just, they were so amazing, and the chief priests and the elders. It was such an awesome experience. All right, our dancer, Allicha.
Oh, that was the best. I that was also a highlight because I got to dance in Africa. I got to do African dance in Africa with uh, v- everything was authentic and wonderful, but I want to back up a little bit because I was overwhelmed with the kindness that they extended to us. The hospitality was amazing. I they because and I'm going to look at it from a wife's perspective and the way they cared for my husband,
Mhm.
and they were really concerned about making sure he was comfortable. They got him two chairs. They gave him the stool that the king would sit on, and when that wasn't comfortable, they brought him out another chair that was only sat upon by the chief. And I was just so honored. They just continually checking on him and then making sure he was okay and making sure we were okay and telling me not to worry and that they would help me. And that was just wonderful. But the dancing, I got to dance in Africa. It was wonderful. It was really wonderful. So I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed, as I'm sure I was smiling. I was concerned about my husband, but I was smiling with you, Rachel. I was just happy. So
Hmm.
it was just a wonderful, wonderful occasion. And it was. I enjoyed the gentleman and him sharing his story
Oh yeah.
about being from Brooklyn and
Yeah.
Yeah.
his father being a member of that particular family. as we are, a member of the family, and them calling him back to Africa and him having to take his father's seat. And the way he explained it, it was so touching, very enduring. But to know that the ancestors will really call you back, and that you have a place, and that this is your home, and you're always welcome. You're always welcome. And not to just think that, oh, no, it's not for the moment, it's an extended welcome. Anytime you're welcome back to Africa. So that was very, very, very nice. Very
Yeah.
nice.
Thanks for bringing that up, because him speaking showed me that it can be me too, right? If this happens,
Exactly.
then we are really a member of the family,
Mhm.
because we are accepted and we are now one with them, with the community. So I loved hearing his testimony. I'm still, it's only been a couple of days, so I'm still pondering on who I was before I went to Africa and who I am now. You know how you go, okay, when I turn 40, this is going to be different. When I turn 50, when I turned 55, I said certain things. But now, this experience, especially, we all have trauma, we all have things that have happened in our lives, but there are defining moments that really mark a point in time in your life. So I'm pondering on how this journey has shifted my understanding of my identity. I don't know if anyone else has given that thought of who you are. I think, Rachel, you mentioned a little bit of that, of how you're living now, or your intent post this trip.
Well, I agree. It's we're all in a moment right now of reflection,
Yeah.
right? And I know we were having a conversation on the bus about this was a moment in time where it was our collective time to receive. We're all givers, we're all caregivers, we're all nurturers, we're all leaders. In whatever aspect, we're constantly giving. And I think that this was a moment for us again to receive that internal healing, to receive peace, to receive ancestral strength, just a moment to reflect on not just the goodness of God, but also the goodness of where we are in our lives. I think that having this journey makes me love my people even more,
Yes.
makes me want to be better at what I do for my people, for my community, for my family. And that's where I am right now. I feel revitalized. I feel my spirit is renewed. I have just an abundance of joyfulness, right? Even in sharing my stories and my pictures with others, they too are like, wow, I got to get there. I'm like, yeah, you do. You have to get there, So for me, I feel a peace about me. Um, and I think that's what has shifted since I've been home. It's a different feeling of who I am as Rachel.
Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, I agree, and I love that you're sharing your pictures. Some people have said to me that they really enjoyed watching the videos and the photos on social media that I was posting, because they felt like they were going through the journey step by step
Nice.
with me. So that's really important for people to feel that and understand that. Jen, how has it shaped you? I know we're still reflecting, but what do you think about your time and your identity now?
Definitely still reflecting, but it makes me want to be closer to my brothers and sisters here. Like I see them now as, not that I didn't before, but even more now as my brothers and my sisters. Like we are from the same place. We are the same blood. Like you are me and I am you. Right? There's no division between us. And I feel motivated that I want to do more to perpetuate that. I don't know what that looks like yet, but that's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah. There's no way not to. I love that. We are the same people, especially seeing what our ancestors went through to survive and to stay together. How could we not want to do that Alicia, did you see yourself in the stories? How has it shaped what you're thinking, your thought process now?
It was very interesting because perseverance stuck out in my stuck. Perseverance stands out in my mind, and taking the pain of our ancestors and really putting our dreams in place, making sure that we have a real purpose, and knowing that you have to really continue to live and to love yourself and to love our brothers and sisters, to love our family, to love native, our motherland, and to really care about one another no matter what, and to try and help everyone through every situation, because no one has the same situation, but everyone has gone through pain, but everyone has a purpose. So it's really important. I think I'm finding you always have something to do. It doesn't stop. um I think that's what I've been reflecting on. I'm like, wow. And I can't help but stop and think about some of the other tours that we went on.
Mhm.
Think about W.E. Du Bois being in Africa and writing, and we're talking 93 and still working hard. I mean, in his 90s, because I think they said he passed when he was 93, but he was still working hard, still fulfilling his purpose. Um, Strengthening Africa. And I love the president, Dr.
Nkrumah.
Dr. Kwame, yes,
Mhm.
in terms of him, just unity, the importance of unity, and the importance of us coming together as one. I think it still resonates today, the importance of us coming together and as one, Africa coming together as one, and us being a tight unit to just strengthen who we are as a people. And
Mhm.
so I think I'm still in the middle of processing and reflecting that. What is my purpose? What is my plan? How am I going to continue to uplift the motherland?
Yeah.
I think that's kind of where I am.
Yeah, there's. I would love to come back and have this conversation in a couple of weeks because there's so much in our 8 days. I think
Right.
about the story of, I think this was what Frank was telling us on the bus of how they honor their women and the
Mhm.
sacrifices of the women, and particularly the woman who dethroned two members of her family,
Mhm.
was able to get someone that would stand up and be strong for what she believed in, and she believed so strongly in it she went to prison and she gave her life for her mission. There's just so many stories. And we've been talking for 45 minutes, so I want to make sure that we end on a positive note.
Mhm.
I have to think about my answer to this question, but there's this phrase that I use in the podcast and in my books called joy in the journey. And, we're teaching our clients and everyone how to have joy in the journey. And I think about that phrase now after Ghana and the journey that our ancestors went through and how they could possibly have had joy in the journey, joy from being with their family, or joy from knowing they were standing up for what they believed in. But if there's someone watching the podcast, and we have such a wide audience that may be struggling, without hope, without healing, without resilience to hold on, what would you say to them after your experience in Ghana to give them that sense of hope, to give them that sense of inspiration from what we learned or what we experienced in those 8 days?
Hmm.
Mhm. That's a good question.
Actually, I'm gonna get something and show the audience. Hold on 1 second.
Okay. Whoever wants to jump in while Rachel's getting her item.
I'm going to jump in. I think that's something that happened during the naming ceremony. One of the last things they did was they always taught us to they taught us to be victorious, and they
Mhm.
put three lines on our arms that meant victory. So no matter what you're going through, no matter what you do, you're going to be victorious. So and I thought victory is mine. I can really do anything. Victory is mine. Um that's what kind of resonates with me, that no matter what, and of course with having faith in God, with faith in God and faith in believing in humanity, we're going to be victorious. So
Love, love that.
And I'll just say, despite all that our ancestors went through, we are here. We are
mm,
thriving. Joy does come in the morning.
right.
We don't know how long that suffering is going to be. Like Israel was in the wilderness for 40 years, you know? So we don't know how long that's going to be, but we need to take the lessons and we need to share them with our brothers and sisters so that we're not, um, so that we don't repeat the same things that we might have done before, the same mistakes we might have made. But just hold on because joy does come.
In the morning.
Hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Rachel, what you got?
So I'm a lover of typography art.
Mm,
So, just inspirational words like what is this one? Grateful. I have words and phrases all around my home. So your question, Darlene, brought me to my pillow. I don't know if y'all can read. Can you read it and
mm.
see it?
If
Can
God brings you to it, He will bring you
You
through it.
through it.
Oh, right. Okay.
So that's how I sum it up. If I had to encourage someone um, who's going through something, that yes, you have to acknowledge God's presence in your life. You have to acknowledge that God is there with you. You're not by yourself. Surround yourself with like-minded people who will be able to support you. And trials equal triumphs. you
Mm,
know, at the end of the day, when you are going through, there will be a rainbow at the end of the rainstorm.
Yes, yes. Oh
And
my
then
goodness.
you'll be able to share your testimony with somebody else.
right.
Yes,
Like, you
Mhm.
know what? I've been there, I've been through it. This is my example, this is my experience. And then you can help to walk somebody else through it.
yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely, absolutely. And the only thing I would add is that we are not alone, that you're
Mm,
not going through your situation alone.
right.
Be with community, be with someone else. Find a like minded person that can help you when you feel like you can't make it because you can. But to have that hope that you are not alone. I learned that in my journey, in my testimony, but also this experience reminded me of that. Well, I just thank you all so much. Thank you for going on this journey with me. Thank you for sharing your experience. Thanks for being open to it. And I just can't wait for us to do it again. Any last words anyone wants to add?
Well, I want to say thank you. Thank you to Kevin as well. You guys were the leaders of our group. And just the trip, the experience was a once in a lifetime.
Yeah.
And I think it was what we all needed at the right time in our life, at the right time in our different journeys and stages of life. I think it's what we needed in this moment. And again, I just want to say thank you. Thank you to Kevin. Thank you to our bond and the love that we had. This
Right.
experience has, I think, shaped us all. And I'm just grateful, grateful and thankful.
I am grateful and thankful as well.
And Darlene, thank you for including me. This is my first time meeting you. It was a wonderful experience. Thank you so much.
Well, Jen, you are family, so you're stuck with us
I
now.
know.
Well,
Yeah.
and Alicia, we traveled together before.
Right. Yes, yes. So I'm just looking forward to new adventures, and looking forward to new adventures and to growing, and just love and laughter and healing, because I think this was it was healing also. It was a healing experience, a healing.
It
Healing.
was,
Yeah.
it was definitely healing. And Rachel, you're right. At our appointed time that we all needed it.
Mhm.
Right.
So thank you very much, everyone. This has been the Debrief with Dr. D. So we're wrapping this up right on time at 50 minutes. Until next time, enjoy, and we'll see you again. Take care, everyone.
Take care.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Well, thank you for joining me today on the Debrief with Dr. D. If this episode spoke to your heart, share it with someone who needs a word of hope and clarity. Don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and connect with our social media community. And remember, healing is not weakness, it's wisdom. You don't have to lead on empty. You don't have to rise alone. You were built to lead, to heal, and to thrive from the inside out. Until next time, lead well, heal deep, and walk boldly. This is Dr. D signing off.